Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill, ladies and gentlemen. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all things DutyRon. And when Ed Wallace is not sleeping because he's in Morocco and it's past 2 a.m. in Morocco, when we go live or upload another video tonight, we got a special treat. We're going to be doing something that I don't normally do. We're going to be talking about Stephan Sterns and Jennifer Soto's dark online activity. We're going to expose it here tonight, primarily Stephan Sterns, because he's done the bulk of all the dirty searches and the dirty walking down the dirty streets of the internet. And if you are sensitive to adult topics and adult conversation, this may be one that you might want to step out and skip, because we're going to talk about some of the deviant behavior of Stephan Sterns before he murdered his girlfriend's daughter, Madeline Soto. And to do that, you need cyber sleuths like a mofo. You need people who are internet detectives, and good ones, because the information that Stephan Sterns put out publicly is out there for the viewing, for your viewing. Anybody could find it. It's public record. It's out there, and it's disturbing. And we usually stick to the facts here, but these are unrefutable facts, because his online footprint is what the investigators are going to be and have looked at. And that leads them, obviously, to the roadmap to what he was doing and his deviant behavior. It's despicable. Now, my good friend Plunder, I've reached out to her and talked to her a couple of times via email and got permission to use some of her footage. She did a video, I think it's 10 minutes, 9 or 10 minutes. And she uploaded a video that's really going to give you an outline of tonight, because I have a special guest, Oblivious Benson. She is, if she would have went into the career as an internet detective, as a detective in cyber crimes, she would be a first grade detective. And my good friend Oblivious Benson, Kate is she's gonna be joining us in a short period of time. And I got to tell you, she knows her stuff. By a show of hands in the chat, how many of you have seen the Plunder video? 9 minutes. It talks about some disturbing things, and I'm going to give you a disclaimer right here, PTSD. What Kat and I are going to be talking about tonight, Oblivious Benson, is some of this stuff. And that's why I want to play a little bit of Plunder. Thank you, Dawn Marie, for putting Plunder's link in the chat. There it is. I have it linked in the description as well. You guys could go over there and subscribe to her. She does a lot of deep dives like this. Again, she's an investigative journalist, but I like to stick to the facts with Ed Wallace, and that's our niche. This is what we do. We give it to you from a police detective's perspective. But I figured tonight, on Memorial Day weekend, I figured I would bring you guys something that we don't normally do. And Oblivious Benson is going to take us on a wild ride of Stephan Sterns' online footprint, and you're not going to want to miss it. But let me play this little piece by Plunder, and you guys can kind of get an idea of what we're going to be doing here tonight. So this is just, again, I linked it in the description. Plunder's a channel that if you want to go and look at all of the surrounding facts and the surrounding information and some of the things of this nature, this is, now we're going to be talking about his online footprint, and it's gross. It's disgusting. It's going to make you probably want to throw up in your mouth, but take a listen.
Heard someone had found an account for Stephan Sterns on a website called FetLife, which is described as the world's largest and most popular social network for the bondage community. And for those folks with certain fetishes and kinks, I bit the bullet and set up an account, much to my own chagrin, and not to shame anyone, but I had to follow my journalistic instincts to see what I could find out about the man accused of ending the life of his girlfriend's 13-year-old daughter, Madeline Soto. I'm going to keep this video as safe for work as possible, and I don't recommend anyone going to visit that website. It is intriguing that I only learned of someone finding Sterns on the website via Reddit and web sleuths, and not because I saw it.
Do me a favor in the chat. Let me know if you could hear this audio. It's kind of, I have it down low because it was kind of high. Let me know if the audio is good by putting a 1 in the chat. If it's not, if it's still too loud, I'll kind of put the volume down a little bit. But for me, I have it set at a good listening, at what I deem to be good listening. It's about half. It's about 50%. If I put it all the way up and slide it to 100, it'll be overmodulated. So let me see what we got. Joey Brooklyn, I'm looking for Joey B, and a couple of others. Karen says yes, it's fine. Okay, cool. I think we'll go with a bunch of number ones here. Microdot, thank you for being here. Hey, Microdot, unbelievable work on your channel. If that's in fact the same Microdot, it's doing a lot of different things for the Karen Reed trial. I watched some of your stuff. If that is in fact you, kudos to you. Really a talented account there. So tip my cap to you, Microdot.
In a subpoena or court documents anywhere, so I hope investigators are hot on the trail of Sterns's activity on the website. In fact, the notice of supplemental discovery for Sterns's case lists everything but this dating website specifically by name. There are lists of incident reports, applications, and affidavits for search warrants for a Fitbit account, digital content belonging to Sterns, an Apple account associated with Jennifer Soto and Madeline Soto, a search warrant for life storage, an Amazon order, and even Sterns's dad's timeline. While I see search warrants for Discord, I don't see ones for dating websites specifically. As we know from previous research, Sterns used the name Sustanet on Reddit as his handle. According to the dating website, Sustanet joined FetLife on August 23, 2022. That same day, he followed a user named Alexa Lee, who describes herself as a 100% natural-born sinner and a person who loved bruises, among other things. No other activity, photos, videos.
100% natural-born sinner should have been added to that profile is 100% demon, 100% evil, 100% freak, 100% psycho. Those are some of the things that should have been added to this profile, but it was Stephan Sterns on his little kink episodes out there trying to lure other underage young children. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Stephan Sterns tried to lure both female and male children online. We don't know this as of yet, but the internet detectives from the respective police departments that are investigating this, and along with the FBI, I would presume, will be looking into that in the months that come and leading up to his trial. So, I mean, again, nothing would be surprising. Nothing would surprise me about Stephan Sterns.
Writings or anything can be seen conducted by Sterns on the site, save for joining the announcements community. He only has the standard question mark as his user profile. Curiously, Sterns listed the word switch next to his handle, which is someone who is willing to take on either a dominant or submissive role in a sexual relationship. Further clues that this indeed is likely Sterns's account is the fact that he listed himself as a 38-year-old straight male from Kissimmee, Florida, in the United States. Sterns was born on April 25th, 1986, which indeed makes him a 38-year-old male right now. Why would he list his real birthday and location? I don't know. I just automatically put my real birth date in the website out of habit, but I didn't list my real location. What is significant about Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022, the day Sterns joined the site? Why did Sterns go through the trouble of setting up an account and following the self-dubbed Twisted Temptress, Alexa Lee, that same day, the only person he appears to have followed? Did he meet her in person? Did he share any deep, dark secrets and messages with her? Or did he just admire her from his glowing screen? Well, if Maddie was indeed beginning her 6th grade year at Hunters Creek Middle School back then, she would have been in school that day since the school year started on August 10, 2022. Count 8 of Sterns's charges lists a battery offense against her on August 15th, 2022, only 8 days prior to joining the naughty website. His next charge, count 9, lists a date of offense of nearly an entire year later on June 14th, 2023. Although the dates of the offenses are not in order in court documents, and not listed chronologically, it seems as though Sterns may not have offended Maddie for nearly an entire year following August 15th, 2022. Is that because Sterns and Jennifer were on a break during that time? Was he living with his parents?
Or was it that he was on a break because Madeline Soto told him, I've had enough of you assaulting me. I've had enough of you having your way with me, and I've had enough with my mom looking the other way. I'm about to expose both of y'all if you don't get the F out of here. I think that may be more of a plausible scenario of why Stephan Sterns, and even to his own admission, he was on a break from Christmas of 2023, and he returned to Florida from from on the West Coast, where he was staying with his parents, in that same town where Brian Laundrie's parents reside. He went from the West Coast over back to the East Coast and came on February 26th. So he was gone for almost 3 months at his own admission. But I think, let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. I think he may have disappeared at that time period back in 2023 because she was probably telling him, I've had enough of this. This has gone on too long.
Cops just not have any photographic or video. 2022. Is that because Sterns and Jennifer were on a break during that time? Was he living with his parents? Or do cops just not have any photographic or video evidence of offenses during that time period? Is that why he turned to the website? It would be very interesting to hear if Sterns shared any messages, videos, photos, or other information with Alexa Lee. Here's hoping cops have already gone down that line of investigation. In the meantime, days after offending Maddie and days prior to joining that dating website, Sterns, as Sustene, was on Reddit, complaining about his meds and dry, happy endings. On Thursday, August 18th, 2022, Sterns
All right, I'm going to stop it right here because, again, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys. And I want to just say this. If you are, again, sensitive to sexual type conversation here, there's some gross things that he posted online. And this account is pretty much 100% verified back to Stephan Sterns. I could say that with extreme conviction because I did my own investigation as far as it's concerned. But we're going to hear from Oblivious Benson, and you're going to hear it here from Plunder. This savage posted this over 2 years ago, Thursday, August 18th, 2022. And you got to hear this. You got to hear this to believe it. And again, I appreciate all of you. I value your subscriptions. I value your memberships, and I don't want anybody to say you didn't warn me. So I'm telling you again right now, there's going to be some grotesque conversation that's being read here. But we need to hear this and we need to know about this because this is Stephan Sterns and this is his dark side. So let me let this play without any interruptions.
Responded to question that asked men 18th, 2022, Sterns responded to question that asked men, how good is your ability to have multiple orgasms while keeping yourself from ejaculating? Sustane wrote, like, non-existent? I don't know how you intentionally have an orgasm without ejaculating other than clenching hard or pinching it off, or why you would want to, as that kind of orgasm, known as a dry orgasm, is not only extremely unsatisfying, but not really healthy either, as it can lead to issues that cause infertility. Look up retrograde ejaculation. It's not fun. Let your swimmers fly free and train yourself to keep going after that if you want to try for multiples as a man. He went on to
let your swimmers fly free. He's a disgusting pig. And he's putting this on the internet. This is for people to see. This is out there. This is not in some private little chat. This is in a public conversation string. And I know Oblivious Benson's got a shitload of stuff to talk to us about as it pertains to this.
Explain how the medication he took had an impact on his private life.
Who else? I mean, we're going through multiple PTSD scenarios right now because this is that infamous ride with the sheriff, with this guy Cabrera, whatever the hell his name is here, ERT Cabrera. And he treated him like he was Prince Harry or something. I don't know what the fuck this guy was thinking, but he treated Stephan Sterns like he was gold here. And I got to give Plunder a lot of credit because this is the perfect double throw up in my mouth scenario. This was the guy who treated him like, hey, do you listen to classical music? Oh, that's horrible that they made you sleep on the floor and you were cold. All kinds of stuff. Who remembers this? This is a double throw up.
All very troubling in light of his criminal charges. Sterns continued, writing, I used to take Adderall every day, and an unfortunate side effect of that medication for me was dry orgasms. Something down there got all clenched up while I was on the stuff and pinched off the flow, causing retrograde ejaculation. And I can tell you for sure that it is the most frustrating and unsatisfying kind of orgasm there is when there is no accompanying feeling of release. Even worse, if it happens often enough, it can train your body to just keep doing whether you want to or not. Maybe Sterns meant just keep going whether you want to or not. Remember when Sterns told the cops about taking Ativan for anxiety? Well, he didn't mention Adderall. It's not.
This is gold. This is liquid gold right here because he didn't talk about this drug, but he talked about another drug that he took for anxiety. And here we are on paper 2 years ago under his account, Thursday, August 18th, he's writing these descriptive writings about ejaculating and about how his medication keeps him from performing at peak performance. It's disgusting, but we have to listen to it.
Not clear when he stopped taking it, but it makes sense that people might be tempted to attempt to use Adderall's focus-improving effects to treat anxiety symptoms. Adderall is an uncommon treatment for anxiety and can actually make anxiety symptoms worse. Sterns wrote, I had to retrain myself to be able to release normally again. It sucks. There is no scientifically proven health benefit to fully denying yourself to ejaculate. There are benefits to edging and stamina training, certainly, but not releasing at all? Nah. Any benefits there are potential, purported, or anecdotal. Whatever the reasons, Sterns joined that site on that specific day.
And I got another thing to add.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Whether he was on a break from Jen or not, I
And that was meant for Stephan Sterns, obviously, not my good friend Plunder.
don't think it was good for him. It's not like it helped him get on the straight and narrow path. Instead, as court documents attest, Sterns would go on to turn his evil desires against Maddie once again, who suffered at the hands of her mother's boyfriend in total for 5 long years of her life, from age 8 until age 13. All of these
Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen, from age 8 to 13. This monster, this demon, this sick, twisted sexual predator had his way with Madeline Soto. And on our all accounts that we're getting, this was sanctioned by her mom. Jennifer Soto told the police in a statement that when I have anxiety, I would tell Stephan to take my daughter into another room in the loft outside of my bed, outside of my bedroom, and sleep with her. And she gave him permission by her own admission to sleep with her daughter when she was at work or out of the house. How much of this did she know about? How much of his online activities did this woman know about? Those are the questions we want answered. Those are the questions that I need to know. And those are the questions that the police need to find out, the detectives. This is almost done. Just another minute. So let's let this play.
Continued findings by sleuths across the web give us more insight into the sick mind of the man who seemingly just didn't pursue worthwhile pursuits, but instead turned his harmful ire on a young girl. Therefore, as we wait for more public record requests to be fulfilled and many more questions to be answered, a fuller portrait of Sterns's reported kinky nature is coming into view, as one of his friends termed both Sterns and Jen, and the burning queries remain. How much did Jennifer know about this dark side of Sterns's life? Was she against it, and is that the reason for their on and off again relationship, or was she a fully aware, willing participant? Did she know his proclivities extended toward her daughter, or was she truly in denial and visibly upset at the proof police produced for her to view? Chances are we'll find out a lot more in due time, even as the Lord of Hosts already knows all. Zechariah's nature is turned age 30, and many more friends termed both Sterns and...
I'm going to leave it right here, and I want to just go to the folks who sent super chats and so forth. I just want to get to it real quick. Colleen, thank you for becoming a new member while we were playing this. Consistent Insomniac, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for everything you do to keep us informed. This show tonight is going to be an awesome treat because my guest, my special guest, my friend, she's a subscriber. I subscribe to her. She subscribes to me. We subscribe to Melanie. It's like a cross-pollination. And I'm not quite sure if she discovered me first or Melanie, but it doesn't matter. She's here and she's with us, and she is an unbelievable cyber sleuth. J.A. Price, thank you for the $5 super chat. Just a thought. He stopped for a year because that was when Maddie supposedly did something with a phone, but she wasn't punished for it. Just saying. I mean, JS knew. Again, none of that is confirmed, but I could shake my head to it because I've heard this, and we've never gotten confirmation, obviously, from law enforcement or from the district attorney, and we won't until the trial commences, if in fact this is something. But thank you for that super chat, J.A. Price. Definitely a possibility. Nat B from Canada, a member for 3 months. I feel like maybe he got her pregnant. That's a conversation that's swirling. I do not engage in that conversation because nobody knows if that in fact is true. That is just a rumor. And if in fact she was pregnant, we'll know about it. And I yield to the trial, to when the information comes out. And I choose not to have that conversation because I feel it is not respectful to someone who's deceased, a young 13-year-old who's gone through arguably a horrible, horrible life, from 8 to 13. And just in the name of goodness, I choose not to. Dawn Marie says, and thank you for being a member. Holy Christ, 48 months. Unbelievable. Get him, DutyRon. He needs to be got, and I think he is already got. So, AJ Mama, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And Emily, how generous. Thank you for gifting five memberships. Greatly appreciated. Hashtag DutyRon, hashtag, I'm not sure. Listen, let me bring her on. What the hell am I doing here? Without further ado, I've been waiting to do this. Gosh, we're at least 2 weeks trying to plan this. Oblivious Benson joins us live from the great state of Texas. Thank you, Oblivious. How's it going?
Hello, DutyRon. Hello, everybody. How are you guys? Hello. Yeah, we've been trying to plan this, but my schedule is whacked out. And oh my God, that plunder video, right?
Oh, this plunder video has had my head spinning. And
I love her.
Yeah, I love her too. I've talked to her a couple of times on like an email back and forth, and she said to me, DutyRon, anytime you want to use any of my stuff, you're free to use it. And here we are tonight, using her video that she uploaded. And I can't, again, I encourage everybody to go over after we're done here and subscribe. There's a clickable link for everybody who's maybe a little bit lazy and don't want to type out plunder. It's pretty simple, but if you don't want to type it out, you could just go and click on it in the description and it'll bring you right over. And you also can click on my good friend Oblivious Benson's YouTube channel. It's in the clickable links. So
thank you. Yes.
Hey,
and I have to say, plunder, am I too loud?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Yeah, plunder is one of the few creators on this case, aside from like, so you and Ed, you guys are into forensics and stuff. So you go by the evidence by default.
Right.
But most people who aren't really, it's not just people who aren't LE, but people who aren't first responders, people who aren't into crime stuff. They don't default on that. They go with like their gut or the X did it. I feel like plunder is a rare breed of creator because almost every, like I would say 99% of the stuff she puts out is absolutely spot on, and it's usually backed up with stuff. And like the 1% that she's not sure about, she lets you know, like, I'm not sure, this is a rumor.
Yeah, I screw up, you screw up, we all do.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to get it 100% right all the time. But yeah, she definitely
corrects
does
the record a lot.
So could we correct the little misconception that I might have put out? Were you following Melanie first or me and then to Melanie, or how did that work? I think it's me, right?
You know what's kind of weird about that? There was one day, so I followed actually I know this one. At first I was like, didn't I follow them on the same day? I know exactly how. I was watching Natalie Lawyer Chick.
Okay.
And I saw somebody in her chat compliment Melanie.
Okay.
And cool. I was like, well, I love Natalie Lawyer Chick, and this lady in the chat is very funny. I was just enjoying all of her comments. So I was like, I feel like I trust Sue. I remember her name was Sue. And so then I added Melanie, and then she also recommended Emily in the chat. So I added Emily D. Baker.
Yeah.
And then in Emily's chat, someone said, DutyRon is talking about this right now. And it was about Liz. And so I did follow you both on the same day.
Perfect.
From chats in different creators. And it wasn't even the creator, it was the people in the chat were like, how am I gonna, they were going back and forth between like DutyRon and Emily and Melanie, and I was just like, now I gotta watch all these people. And then I got nothing done for a straight month because I had to catch up on everything.
All right, Kat, so let's jump into this real quick. I wanted you to first, I mean, this is a special live stream. This is something that I don't normally do. And we're going to be talking about, Stephan Sterns, primarily his dark online activity. And you know about it because you did an hour plus video. You did an upload video as well. I want to just give the audience that's watching a little bit of your background and like, how do you know this stuff? How did you come to start cyber sleuthing in a condensed form, because I know we all both can be chatty, but I want to try to keep this to like an hour's time. So how did you get into this cyber sleuthing thing, and how long have you been doing it? How did you get this knowledge, and what do you think of this plunder video? I'll ask it all in one punch.
Okay, I'll start with the first question. I guess I think the beginning was probably when it would have to be like 94, 95, which I know sounds crazy, but
Mhm.
like my grandfather, people in my family were in the military. So they had like different types of software. People, I believe there was like ARPANET for a while. And I was really into the AOL chat rooms. And that ended up with me getting really into this thing called punters, pinters, tossers, which is literally just overwhelming someone with messages until they get kicked out of a chat room. So
Right.
I would literally go into chats, and if a guy perved on me, like back then it was ASL, age, sex, location. Someone perved on me, I would just do that to them and get them kicked out. And I thought it was so funny. And then I started joining like various types of forums. I wouldn't say hacker forums, but eventually it got to that point, and it got to the point where I was like just kind of taking advantage of everything I could learn online and not really leaving my dorm by the time I was in college. And this was like the early 2000s. And I got really heavy into web sleuths. It started in around 99, I believe. I think it was because I was like a sophomore in high school when I joined. I remember it was like, it wasn't beta, but it was early forms of it. And then eventually I started hanging out in forums like the original Don't F with Cats forum and a
Wow.
bunch of different places where I'd see some crazy stuff and I'd be like, wow, this can affect people real time. And around 2012, I had a roommate. I found out my old roommate went missing in Mexico. And I grew up watching America's Most Wanted, being obsessed with cases. So I was like, we have to find Carl. And they never found him. But I ended up basically having a lot of people that I knew, a friend of a friend, an acquaintance, a coworker, like people that I knew that would go missing or have horrible things happen to them. And then one day in 2014, I got jumped. I got attacked by a gang. This is like a metal plate in my eye, and I
Mm.
got stabbed, and it sucked. But I remember being fascinated with the investigation, and it turned me into someone who tried to use the stuff I do know for victims advocacy, like computer stuff, because I met so many families who, they didn't know where to start when it came to looking for their missing loved ones. And if you were a victim of a violent crime, you didn't know where to start when it came to communicating with police. A lot of victims feel like, the police aren't listening or they're not providing me enough info, but they don't understand why. So then I joined criminology, and I had been a journalist for 20 years and I'd already gone to college, but I was like, no, I'm going to wait until I'm almost 40 and then I'm going to go back to school and
Wow.
try to kind of merge the tech side with the criminology side and the behavioral analysis side. And ideally the idea is to start a sort of down south it's called the Heidi Search Center, but it's closed down, but almost like a resource for people who are just kind of either trying to communicate better or learn how to use ethical OSINT, like open source intelligence in general,
Mhm.
how to take information that is publicly available like a journalist would, but try to preserve it so that you don't screw it up for court later. Trying to get people in touch with other victims who are going through the same thing, trying to build a bridge between an investigator and a victim by saying, let them help and trust the family a little more, and they'll maybe provide you with info. And since I do stand up, that has been oddly helpful, is just the ability to communicate, I think, and keep people lighthearted and let them know that you're not trying to destroy an investigation. You want to help. And that's pretty much it. Like now it's all like,
What I love about this story is, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
oh, you're good.
people are saying it in the chat, is that you became educated in cyber crimes or cyber sleuthing because you were a victim of a crime, first with your roommate going missing, then with you being a victim of a violent crime as well.
And I also found the people who did it online.
Right.
And I would just kind of keep an eye on them. I knew everything about them. And then one day I FOIA'd my own case, and it was kind of wild to see like the stuff that I was accurate on
Right.
and the stuff that I had missed. And it was, first of all, those people were so much worse than I thought they were. They actually scared me more after I read the FOIA. They've like killed people. They had a lot of guns on them. They attacked a
Right.
woman holding a baby at a bus stop and
Oh
nearly
my
beat her to
goodness.
death for an iPad.
Wow.
And they were teens and 20-something year olds. And then I did a comedy festival the next day with like a busted eye, and I gave out mace on 6th Street, which is a horrible idea because
Yeah.
drunk people love to spray mace at each other, it turns out. But other
In
than
some
that,
places, it's criminal to give out mace. Like here in New York,
yeah.
you can't even buy it. Rock Chalk is on with us.
God, I love Rock Chalk.
I love her too. She is taking care of business as it pertains to covering the case of our missing moms from Kansas, and murdered. So that story, she's going live night and day about it.
I would love to see you and her team up on a road trip in a Winnebago to go solve crimes. I would die. That would be like my Cold Justice 2.0.
Unbelievable. It would be unbelievable. Let's
Would Duty Ed there.
I think we could do it. I'm going to retire sooner than later. And in the next year or two, I'm going to be retired fully and I'll be traveling all over the place.
I just want to produce it.
Let's go. Let's reel it in. And thank you for that background for the listening audience. So people know, listen, if I was an internet detective, if I was in the computer crime squad, I'd want her, this girl right here. I'd want her as a partner because she's a badass when it comes to finding out information. And let me just give you a little bit of a tidbit of behind the scenes DutyRon. I have called her, this Oblivious Benson, and asked her to do some research for me. And you know what she does? She does it. She's like, I'm on.
So nosy.
She's like, I'm on it. So if I need to get information on certain cases, this is my go-to right here.
If I hear a buzzword, I get stoked and I'm like, I'm in on it. Let's bust this perp. I become Ice-T.
Yep. What are your thoughts with Stephan Sterns and Jennifer Soto? The new information that broke last week that she, in fact, gave the blessing for her boyfriend to sleep in a separate room with her daughter, and now looking at this type of conversation. I know you knew that this was out there. You probably read this 100 times over and knew about this. For the listening audience, this account that I have my cursor scrolling over, this is on Reddit, right?
That is his Reddit account. So I think it would be best to go consecutively because that would be the quickest. It would make the most sense. But the first thing that happened, probably I believe it was the day of the interview where he's crying. So it was a day maybe after she went missing. All of a sudden, the goal of the cyber sleuth community was we need to get one screen name of this guy. Because really it is a lot, I think, like an investigative case from an officer or a first responder standpoint. You get there and you try to assess the situation, who's involved, right? So all you really need is one screen name, one last name, a picture of a family dog. I mean, there are 3 items behind me right now that you might not think, but simply just Googling like a simple thing in the background could really give you so much information. Just like a piece of grass or topography can narrow down a burial site. So everybody's goal was get a screen name for this guy. And somebody popped up with Sustanet. I don't know who it is, but God bless them. And once that happened, you're off to the races, because when it comes to OSINT, really a lot of people think that everything great started in America, but really it started in Australia, I believe. I've done a lot of research on that too, which, by the way, if you have a kid who you want to be a big nerd, get them into the library, befriend a librarian, and get them really, really heavy into essentially debate, like research. And when you do research, just that one name, you can plug it into like 5 or 6 different basically like people finder sites, but they're not people finder. It's specific to crawling the internet and finding anywhere that not just that screen name is, but whatever email is attached to that screen name, any other screen names on the internet that attach as well to another screen name, it's going to pop up that account. And there are so many resources where you can see the linked accounts, and then you put that in another one, and then you see those. And the one that I use in my video is what'smyname.app. It's free. It's not an app. It started in Australia, but it's a worldwide tool. And you can use that. You can use Epios. You can get really technical with it. There's like 50 kinds. But once you get that, you're off to the races, because now you can take that and you can compare the IP on that'sthem.com. You get 10 freebies a day.
You match it back.
Once you're with that, you now have every single username that has ever been at that IP address, every single person who ever lived at that address, anybody who's logged into those accounts and all their email accounts, just free at your fingertips. And there are
And this
so
is
many
free of
different
charge.
kinds.
This is not pay. This is not like
No.
a pay site or anything like that.
Absolutely free.
We talked about way back Spokio, IP search, Radis.
So
So
I
many.
have a lot to say about those, but I'll condense it. Basically, the only thing that I think that you can trust as far as address, names, and relatives go, there are 2 sites that I would trust with my life for just address, name, and relative. Just my opinion. White Pages is one, because just like the OG White Pages or the original Yellow Pages, everything that's on White Pages as far as address and name and phone number goes, that is all info that you've either put in a credit report that
Yes.
can be tied to an IP address, or that you've used as your mailing address at the post office. Social Catfish is shockingly accurate and incredible.
I have it
That
written
one,
down here. I have it written down and highlighted.
it is amazing, and that's probably one of the most accurate. That's them. Totally free, comparably. Social Catfish, not so free. Social Catfish recently merged with another company, and that's them merged with Spokio.
Whoa.
Now, if it had been 2 months ago, I would have said, don't trust Spokio necessarily, because they will mistakenly put in, like, this is the scary part. This is very vital.
Spokio has been around a long time.
Been around a long time.
Even when I worked in Fugitive, we used that. We used Anywho. And there was many others that we used that were much more advanced than this that I used in Fugitive, and I worked with the U.S. Marshals, so I had access to the Marshals service. And let me tell you something. That was back in the 90s and up to 2011.
That was early.
In the late 90s, early 2000s, and I worked in Fugitive all the way up till 2011. So this stuff has advanced so much, and I'm playing Stephan Sterns because this was the interview that you're referring to. Where,
and see, the problem is, even though it advanced, though, sometimes advancing can be your own detriment in a way. You know how people sometimes are like, "Oh no, the robots are gonna take over and they're gonna take our jobs. Everything's gonna be automated." In a way, even though it's considered successful to have like an AI algorithm now or something that will scrape the web automatically, the problem with that is sussing out the data and interpreting it and verifying it. AI can't really do that. It's not, I mean, it can, but it's not up to snuff. It's at its beginnings. So really, Spokio, I think 5 or 10 years ago, was much more accurate than Spokio is now, like the last 5 or 10 years, because it incorporated a lot of different things in it that the True People Finder websites incorporated, which is basically, we're going to scrape everybody who lived at this address and we're just going to put them in a pile, and there you go. And that's who's related. And that's not always true. And this is the scary part I was going to say. If, for example, DutyRon, if you live at your address now, and let's say you've lived there 20, 30 years, you've lived at that address, you haven't moved at all, but somebody walked by your house and accidentally logged into your Wi-Fi, like it was open for some reason. All of a sudden, their name can pop up in your relatives or in your associates under Spokio now because they logged into your Wi-Fi. Somebody borrowing your phone.
Let's say I have a party and my son, when my son was a teenager, he would ask, "Dad, what's the password for the internet? My friends want to connect." If those friends connect, it's a wrap.
And now Timmy, Tommy, and Jacob are all your associates or your son in some instances, depending on age. It will automatically group them. So then what happens is, let's say, I know you would never do this, but let's say you rob a bank, right?
Ooh.
It's like, oh my God, this famous
Oh, hell no.
this famous YouTube guy, he snapped because he couldn't get into the air show. And then he walked across the street and he robbed a bank. And he said, man, screw YouTube. And he went nuts. And now he's in prison. Can you believe it? And then the whole internet goes, did you hear about DutyRon? What happened? And they go, I need to find out everything about him because I bet he's done this before. And then they go look you up on Spokio and they see little Timmy's name from 10 years ago.
Right.
All of a sudden they're on his page, die, Timmy, die. And it's like, oh my God, how did we get here?
He logged into my freaking Wi-Fi.
And that is exactly what happened in Delphi, actually. Keegan Kline and his dad, Tony, they lived at a specific address. They mistakenly used it for a lot of sus stuff. But Keegan's buddies would come over, his sister. The previous homeowners who lived there were getting death threats because their names were popping up as associates. Like, how do you know this pervert? And they're getting calls for interviews.
Right.
It's crazy when in reality, they just lived there 10 years before. So my last video that we were talking about was just how to figure out who is who, because now you have to do that if you're using these sites.
And your video was fascinating information. Like, I actually learned some stuff from that video. So again, I want to reel this in as it pertains to Stephan Sterns and his online presence. His online presence pre-arrest, right? We are, as cyber sleuths, we want to know what Stephan Sterns was up to before he got caught, before February 26th. You know, and we know he got caught after February 26th, but that was the date that Madeline Soto was allegedly dropped off at that school, which we know never happened. He was full of shit. So
and then he made up that phony McDonald's story. What was that?
Prior to February 26th, it was just bullshit, is what it was. It was just this guy, this savage, making up a story to try to cover his tracks. But Oblivious Benson, why I have you here is because I want you to explain to the audience about how easy or how difficult. And I know that you spent lots of time sleuthing on Stephan Sterns, and not to sleuth on him to harass, annoy, or commit crimes.
Just because I'm nosy. I was literally just nosy.
Yeah, because you're a nosy Rosie, and you wanted to find out what this scumbag was up to online. And what you told me was poof. I mean, I have emails from you and screenshots. I mean, we have to do it.
Almost as bad as Rex, isn't it?
It's almost as bad as Rex, but Rex Heuermann, Long Island serial killer, was doing it a lot longer than Stephan Sterns, arguably. This was a guy who was randomly selecting sex workers that were out there and that were vulnerable, and that he could command and control them. Stephan Sterns, had complete command and control, and it was an easy no-brainer because the mom, we just found out that Jennifer Soto was sanctioning his interactions and his contacts. Whew.
Yep.
My police sign just fell down, so the police got mad at me.
No.
So Stephan Sterns had the green light to sleep in a private bedroom, and I keep saying this because it's shocking.
Which, by the way, Ron, it's not just a private bedroom. It is her dad's old room. He moved to Puerto Rico.
Jennifer Soto's father's old room.
And let me tell you something. Juan, her dad, seen the interviews. I know Plunder covered him, looked into him, highly regarded fellow. So far, Juan, from what we know, absolutely adored Madeline.
This is Jennifer Soto's father.
Her father. So I'll give you some background. So this is what we know. This is. And
can I ask you before you go into that? How much do we know about God bless. How much do we know about Stephan Sterns' online footprint? How far does it go back where you can check him on Reddit, check him on all these freaky perv sites, and
so
all this
far to high school? I've got.
Hold on. You can trace his online footprint. You have traced his online footprint back to high school?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Please talk about that. You got the whole screen now. Your whole face is my screen.
And I look furry. What the hell? So in the 90s, I'm actually making a video soon about this, but in the 90s, we had, until the mid 2000s, we had stuff like LiveJournal, MySpace, Zanga, Makeout Club. If you were there, if you know, you know. Stephan had all these things, and because Stephan was clearly into young ladies for a long time, even when he was young, not so much younger though. Like when he was young, they were his age, but as he got older in his 20s, there was a lot of talk. I'll just say this. There was a lot of talk on channels from old roommates. So in order to verify what those roommates said, I had to find them. I don't contact them, but I did look them up. I verified that they're real people, addresses, all sorts of things connected. So once I saw them, I started looking through their socials, and I started using some tools like Wayback Machine and kind of just going through old MySpace caches. And I mean, we've got a picture of him in an orange jumpsuit. He's got pictures of him drinking with the puka shell necklace and the crappy spikes.
I saw that. I saw
Yeah.
that. Ugh.
And he had a girl who did communicate with him through his Facebook before she obviously blocked him. Now it's not going to pop up. And I don't want to out her name or anything about
No,
her,
no.
but he took advantage of her at a very young age. He was much older. He was like, I want to say like between 2022, she was like 15 to 17. And she was commenting on his page like, we're going to go out, we're going to hang out, come over and watch a movie. And you see this a lot with grooming. And they stayed friends over the years, but she went on to comment to other people eventually that like it wasn't what he thought it was. And she kind of felt like irritated or disturbed with herself for having ever been near him. But all his friends kind of knew. They were like, he's dating a high school girl, which is super weird to me.
Yeah.
And then to see these same roommates who I did verify they are real go on other creators' channels and openly talk about like how Deb, the mom, allegedly paid them off to keep quiet when they discovered that he was putting cameras in the shower of their girlfriend's bathroom. He simultaneously was putting a lot of underage porn onto a server that was shared and public with the rest of his roommates. The trick or the trap here, I guess, would be that his mom owned the place and the roommates were paying rent to him and his mom.
Ugh.
So he had the power to kick them out, and they're vulnerable college kids who have nowhere to go. And it basically came down to, listen, we know you did this, but we won't say anything, I guess, because, you know, you're letting us stay, but don't do it anymore and apologize. And then one day the mom shows up with some manila folders and is like, GTFO, here's some money, zip it, end of story.
Right.
And, you know, you're selfish when you're young. I'm not going to make excuses for them because I don't have to, but it makes sense why some, pardon my French, dipshits would go and accept that, maybe without realizing exactly how serious this was. People were really kind of dumb back then, even though it was 10 to 15 years ago. We've advanced a lot as society. Stuff that would not fly back, like now, would totally fly back then. So essentially he was doing that. Here's some weird stuff. I'm just going to tell you straight up. He had a lot of strange accounts. Plunder was right. He had FetLife accounts. He also had so many Pornhub site accesses, and he enjoyed it. And
when you, because for people who are listening that might not understand what your Pornhub site access references are.
oh, they know.
No, I would say the majority do know, but there are
Yeah.
some that do not know. And let me know in the chat here live if you did not know what she just made a reference to. These are the actual times that he signs into Pornhub.
Mhm.
And are you actually seeing
And
what he's
rates
searching
videos.
for? Are you seeing?
He rates them. He writes, it's just like if you were going on Yelp to say, what a good In-N-Out burger. But he's talking about people, women. And this is pretty common, I guess, for people who frequent the site. But he did it so much that he got awards on the site.
That's gross.
He had a 7-year award, like you would get on Reddit. He had the most, I'm not going to say it, type of videos award. Like, and it's gross. It's like sweaty stud award. Like he gets all these dumb awards for being a loser that watches too much porn.
Rating the videos and putting his comments in.
And we talked about this in the Lisk case. This isn't uncommon for they call it fapping. Like these dudes will go rank it. It's not uncommon now for younger generation type of people. But the past 3 decades, there are so many sites where there's one called USA Sex Network. There's so many where Johns go and they not only basically review sex workers, but they will literally tell you this one's scamming me, this one robbed me, this one, that, the other. And that's how they ended up figuring out Rex's scheme back in 2011 with Amber Costello. There is a literal setup of people who are trying to find her to hurt her because of an alleged robbery scam they had going. Now, people like Stephan, from what it seems, his behavioral pattern is very weird. He tends to try to be a caretaker while simultaneously being very degrading. And I'm not a behavioral analyst, but I spent a lot of time studying it and going to school for it. And I can tell you this much. It reminds me of, there's a couple, I'm not saying he's a serial killer, by the way. I want to definitely make that clear. But there have been a few serial killers that are women, that are specifically nurses. And then there are first responder male serial killers that are actually their own kind of grouping, almost like snipers have a God complex. These folks have a complex of they want to bring you back to life and then kill you and then bring you back to life. It like keep you on the brink, almost like someone does when they choke and then they let go.
Yeah.
That's the type of thing you see in his online pattern almost, because he goes from, I want to help a teen out and give really great advice, where if you, and it makes me sick saying it,
He was
but
giving
he has
parental
posts that,
advice. He was giving parental advice.
and
in
there are
this.
some posts where you read the parental advice, and when you don't see his name above it, you go, oh, this is great advice. Oh my God. It's like when people used to give you a quote and be like, you like that quote? You go, yeah. And they go, Hitler said it. It's like, why would you do that to me?
Yeah, right.
Like, it's the
Not
same thing.
No, yeah,
And
exactly.
you're just like, you duped me. But he says that, like, you should respect yourself and men should respect you and never put up with that. And then 2 posts later, it's something shockingly degrading and mean and almost like, ooh, I'm going to really attack you and call you a whore or something. Like, and it's so, to see that dynamic, it's like seeing a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde in real time
Right.
with a behavior under a name he has no idea that people
And
are ever
this,
going to one day look at it and know it was him.
right. And this stuff is out there for the looking.
Mhm.
Anybody could see it. You know, this demon is openly making these posts. Now, I
Mhm.
want to get into the facts of how you can determine that this is him. But before we go into that, these kick accounts and this mention by Plunder of this Alexis Lee, that was the what was it? Fetish Life.
Okay, I can tell you right now the accounts that are definitely verified as his. First of all, and I did.
Can you share screen and show?
Yeah, let me pull this up because I actually have quite.
All right. So what we're about to do is show a list, and I'm sure that Oblivious Benson has it all in a secure folder somewhere. She sent me a ton of stuff tonight, and I just walked in the door, so I'm starting to, like, now as we're live looking at them. If you could just show the audience some of these fully vetted, verified accounts that are belonging to Stephan Sterns, and just give them a little background on it.
I'm going to show you. Let me pull this up because, sorry, I've got 3 screens, but one's not
While
working.
you're doing it, let me just say hello to some of the new members. Rock Chalk became a channel member, and I appreciate that, Rock Chalk. And she also went another step, which was unbelievably generous. Rock Chalk gifted 10 DutyRon memberships. So welcome all the new members. Thank you for that. David, thank you for becoming a member. Lyndon said Davidson Harley Davidson. I get that reference. Thank you for being a channel member. She goes, wow, Oblivious is a cool chick.
Hey,
and you know what? She's a badass.
Thank you.
Because she does some unbelievable cyber sleuthing. And I actually said to her tonight when she told me, I have some things that I emailed you if you want to share it, or if you could be a surprise. And I actually responded back to her, I trust you completely. So whatever you want to share here tonight. JPL, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, God bless Madeline, praying for truth and justice. And you know what? Law enforcement here, the multiple agencies that are getting the wheels of justice moving. they are doing everything humanly possible to bring justice for Madeline Soto, and that's what it's about. Rock Chalk, oblivious. She loves you. And she loves
I
you.
love rock. Again, I want to see y'all in an RV together. Okay, I think I got this pulled open.
Let's
Let me
rock it.
do present. I'm gonna put up first. This is just because it's easier. It's got all of them. These are the ones that I was able to verify.
These are Stephan Sterns online account profiles that are verified by Oblivious Benson. And actually, I looked into some of these as well. Not all, but I looked into some of them. For those of you joining late, we are going over Stephan Sterns and possibly Jennifer Soto's dark online activity. It's being exposed here on Crime Time with DutyRon, something that we don't normally do. So this is a treat. Thank you, Oblivious.
Oh, you're welcome. Let's see. And I can show you the actual accounts that are his, but here's the thing. Some of them are NSFW, so I'm going to try to.
I don't mind. Just do it.
Okay, I'll just show you the bulk one. Is it showing?
It's not showing. I see it there. I'll add it to the stage.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Before you go into this, Rhonda Short says, "Why do these guys have to go after children? Aren't there enough call girls out there?" I mean, I don't even like the ending of this. There are, people who, are in the sex trade, sex workers, whatever. I don't even know what's politically correct to say. But yeah, you go to Vegas and the sex trade is legal. It's not even illegal there. So leave the kids alone.
I think there's
alone.
I just want to step in and say, I think there's 3 things that often aren't considered because they feel like an excuse, and it's not an excuse, but I think it is kind of a valid reason that needs to be looked into more, but it's currently being looked into. But, there's a really great radio lab on this that I think everyone, even you, DutyRon, you would love it. You should listen to it later. It's about a guy named Kevin. If you just type in Radio Lab Kevin later when you get time. There was a guy who had seizures every day. Long story short, he goes to get brain surgery. He's still awake during it all. If you've ever seen those videos, they give him brain surgery. His seizures go away. He's happy. He has a wife. They're in love. He's a great dude. Everyone describes him as like John O'Keefe great. Like they love him. And then he starts waking up at night and looking at violent, aggressive pornography.
Oh.
And he never did that before. And his brain surgeon said, if there's something different in your personality that changes, you need to let us know so that we can track it. Because just like we don't want a musician to forget how to play the fiddle, we don't want you to experience extreme anger or emotions, which, I mean, I've had 11 concussions, Ron. I used to never cry, and now I cry all the time. So what happens to your brain can affect your mood, your life, your behavior. This guy got to a point where he said it was like a blackout, like he thought he was dreaming, and he'd wake up and he would see things on the screen that I'm not even going to say. I don't want you to get demonetized, but he would see things involving animals, involving children, involving snuff films.
Wow.
And he'd be like, what am I watching? And he got so scared, he tells his doctor, his surgeon, and they're like, oh no, we need to fix this, but you need help. And he tries to get therapy, and the therapist says, we can't help you. We're going to report you. And then he reports himself to the cops, and he's like, I had this brain surgery and now and then he gets raided.
Wow.
And he goes to prison, and his wife and him have to go through this. Are we going to sue the hospital because you didn't like this stuff before your brain surgery? Now, I'm not saying all of them are like that. Head injuries, when you look at the amount of serious psychotic predators that end up killing, especially when it's just 1 or 2, oftentimes it's either something wrong with their head, literally, or a weird relationship with their mother that was unhealthy growing up. That's so common. It's an overly obsessive love for their mother.
Most people go to the mental health issues when you look at this stuff, but like you said, there are those components that are documented.
And then there are people born evil.
Right. This isn't stuff that just we're making up. It's out there. Let's look at this. So the app predators use, and Kick is right at the top of it. Snapchat's right there. Scout.
Mhm.
I mean, some of this I gotta go
And I
full
want to
screen.
point out something. Do
Okay.
you know why all of these apps are considered the most beloved by predators? And I would even throw in a few others in there, but
Because the kids use it.
not just that, they all have mapping features, almost all of them. So in Snapchat, you think that I guess the glory of it, the thing that made them so popular is, you take a picture, it goes away right after, right?
Right.
Or they can't, if they try to screenshot, then you're going to be alerted. You're going to know they're being a pervert, and then you can block them, right?
Right.
Well, the thing that they don't tell you is that kids have to go in there just like adults have to, and you have to go in your settings and you have to disable the snap map. Otherwise, your location is always publicly available. And what's scary is it's by default.
Oh,
So just like you would have to kind of just know to go look up the
right.
advertising part of your Facebook and turn that off.
Joey Brooklyn
Yeah.
says it's just like Periscope mapping.
Exactly.
And they did that as well. Yeah. So good looking out there, Joey.
Omegle too, when it shut down, it was like, we shouldn't have to do this, but it put a disclaimer up that like, we have to because kids are seeing too many penises.
Yeah.
And so we got to get rid of it. It's not, they can't see that much. It's not Game of Thrones over here. So they shut it down.
And we can go into Facebook, which tracks, TikTok tracks, China.
All of it. Like all of these apps have a tracking.
They could turn your camera on. They could take over your audio on your phone and listen to you sleep, listen to you having relations with your significant other.
Hot or Not, Grinder. I mean, Scout, all of these, one of the common things is that the algorithm will put people together who are close together physically by distance. So imagine you're a predator.
That Stephan Sterns was using with the check marks here. Is
the
that
ones with the check marks are the ones that I was able to verify accounts for under his IP, his email address. It says up there, it's either a cache of data, which if you delete, so let's say you go on
bigger, can you pinch on it and zoom that screen?
I think I can. Wouldn't it be funny if that's the one thing I can't do?
No, you can. Okay, good.
Figure it out. There we go.
That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna go full screen and take us off.
So now what's odd is Omegle he did have, but I couldn't confirm it other than screen name. The only other two people who ever used Sustanet as a screen name in the history of the internet prior. By the way, you always have to look at prior to his arrest. After, people are going to make fake accounts just like they did Koberger.
Yeah, freaks are going to start making hundreds of thousands of accounts.
Yeah, but before there were only 3 people on earth who used that screen name. One of them, specifically that one, tied to a Gmail account. And that would be a band that's pretty good. They're okay. They're like the Pogues. And then a Polish guy who's into skydiving and does have a chatterbait. God bless him. He's single and he's living his retirement and he's just jumping out of planes and loving life. He's not hurting anybody.
Yeah. He's not married. He's single. Chatterbait away.
Yep. And people dox the hell out of him because they see chatterbait and they go, it must be Stephan. No, it's just another guy also looking at porn.
So these are 12. These are 12 verified accounts.
Yeah. And that's just on that list of the ones that are available for mapping, if you will.
And in the affidavit, we heard about Discord, right? We heard about a Discord that was branded for Madeline Soto, right?
So let's get into that real quick because I have.
Did he use that account to? Was he controlling that account and using it as a way to lure more potential victims? You think? Because I actually just used my detective skills and said, this is what creeps do. They're going to use their daughters or girlfriends' daughters' faces and pictures to try to communicate as them to others.
He could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was telling you that the other day, how like that's a common practice is, I mean, we even caught, me and a buddy of mine caught a pedo inadvertently looking into another case. I'm not going to mention which one, but we thought we'd hit the mother lode with this one guy that, I mean, I'm telling you, everyone in the world was looking for this dude.
Wow.
We ended up catching a totally different guy who was in, I can't remember if I think it was Spain or Germany. And he was basically using his stepdaughter, her account. He took everything she had and mirrored it. He made a whole new account. And then he also had her phone passwords through that. He had Life 360. He had every child thing set up on her stuff. and she didn't know about it, and he had her passwords.
Mm.
So he could log into her account, or he could go to her phone at night when she's asleep, and
Yeah.
he would send stuff to himself and then delete that. And so then he'd have any pictures she sent to her boyfriend. She was like 14 or 15. So she did have some stuff. That's another thing. If you're a kid and you're watching, just don't take the picture to begin with. Just
Yeah,
don't,
yeah,
please. I'm
don't
not
do it.
trying to victim blame, but just don't, because all it takes is one person getting access to that password, and now you're right for blackmail, shaming,
All
was
kinds
it
of crazy.
revenge porn? So what this guy did is he'd save them, and then he would use his own stepdaughter's pictures to set up an account pretending to be her, a 15-year-old,
It's like,
and then he would set up like, "Oh, you dance, I dance. We should hang out, girl," and then go meet these girls. And he came all the way to the US, to the Mall of America.
what a and we see this with how to to catch a predator, and it's like some, and there's YouTube channels that do this all day every day. But correct me if I'm wrong, we heard Madeline Soto's mom, Jennifer, talk to the media and tell them we went through her phone, we looked at her deleted messages. Like most,
She
I gotta
also
say,
said that.
she said we. That
But do you
means
remember what she said about taking Madeline to school? What did she say?
we took her to school.
And what did we mean in that instance?
We meant her
Stephan.
and Stephan. Yeah.
Not her. She didn't go. She lied about that.
Mhm.
Stephan took her. She wasn't even in the car. She was asleep, right? So in Jen's head, we mean Stephan. She wanted us to think she was there to supervise. Turns out she wasn't supervising. So
No.
by default, in my head, anytime I hear her say we, I go, let's go back and look at that, because that's probably bullshit.
Yeah.
So when she says we looked through her phone, I think Stephan did.
And this is why so many people are outraged that with the minimal charges of child neglect or failure to supervise your child. There has to be some type of low level charge that they could bring against her. But look, in the grand scheme of things, they're not looking to give Jennifer Soto a smack on the wrist. They're looking at everything possible to tie her into having any type of hand in this thing.
And here's the thing: they have Stephan. They
They have
don't
him on
need her
ice.
for a
He's on ice.
baby.
I have a note right here. It says
Yep.
Stephan Sterns is on ice, not going anywhere, so they can take their time and build their case. I keep
And
this in
here's
my
the thing.
studio as a reminder, this little note.
Yeah, and we can go through. In fact, there are indicators. There are a lot of indicators. Let me turn myself up in the paperwork that we have from this most recent situation that tell us exactly what we need to know. For example, if you go to here, let me just pull it up and I'll just read it to you because it's not a lot. But if you go up to the demand for discovery, that's going to give you things like the Discord name that Maddie used, right? So you can go into Discords, whether you're invited or not. And in some of them, you have to be invited. I tried to access this Discord and then I backed off because there was nothing available, which means the FBI scraped it. It's down. It's not on the way back, which it wouldn't be anyway. But regardless, it's just nowhere because they've scraped it. Now, the reason I wanted to check was to see who moderated it. Was it moderated by Stephan? I find it very, very interesting that it's listed right above the Gmail, and that when you go into the evidence paperwork, the warrant for Google, everything, that's what's shocking. He didn't try to hide it. I thought he could have been a deep web or dark web user, but I found no Tor friendly activity. I found nothing in any of this in fact, he just seems really stupid. Like I don't think that he at all distributed so much as traded or maybe purchased, because you don't see distribution on here. That tells me he hoards, he buys from others.
Right.
I also see a lot of crypto. When you see a lot of crypto, you kind of presume maybe some dark web stuff, right? Because that's how you buy it.
Trades.
But then you see the amount. Look at that. He's got 40 different charges, each for 10 or more photos. So at minimum, he has 400 photos. He has a whole terabyte, what do
Yeah.
we say? That's like 250,000 pictures.
150,000, 300,000 pictures, full length motion films.
Yep.
Just
It's
a
really
ridiculous.
crazy. But the thing that blows my mind here is if you look at the bottom of the demand for discovery, the Instagram related to Madeline is listed, and it's little_figment, which is a Disney character. If you look at Stephan's Reddit, he's constantly posting pins of the same character, and it says Little Figgy. Yes. So see how it says former usernames? So before Madeline was little_figment, she had another username. So between August of 2023 and February of 2024, which is not a long time period, she changed her username one time. I wonder why. Typically, people will do that because they've said something they shouldn't have said,
Right.
or maybe they don't want people to find them and they've done. I wonder if this is him.
Right.
I wonder if he set her up with an Instagram account, because that date, August, coincides with a lot of other activity that he had and posts he had. And I find it interesting that he uses the same pictures in his Reddit posts.
This also too, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but they talked about him joining the fetish life at August 2023.
FetLife. Yep.
22. So
and the day he joins FetLife is the day Madeline's Instagram starts. Simultaneously, I mean, the time when you see these patterns, something's up. So when you look at the Discord activity, there is no way you can use a Discord without having an email address. That tells me Madeline has an email address. Well, why isn't that email address in the warrant?
Right.
What email address is in the warrant right under it? What is that? Sustanet@gmail.
Yes.
Is that Discord and this Maddie? Or is it both Stephan? I mean, here's the thing about Jen. Jen had Sailor Coda, Jen So, and Jen Lisette. Those were her main profiles on everything. All of them had posts about bipolar depression, PTSD, ADHD, all these different problems with mental health issues. Well, then we have a roommate go on a channel named Jai that I sat through and I listened through and I took notes.
Right.
And I sent them to you, Ron.
I have them. I have the notes.
Would you mind? Can I do a bathroom break? Would you read some of that stuff to them?
Yeah, let me just grab
1 minute.
Go ahead. Go.
I just realized I have to go so bad, but I really want them to know this, because this is exact. So Stephan and her had a roommate, Stephan and Jen, in 2018. They had been dating since 2018. And in that 2018 period, they were together 9 months, and they would break up and get back together. He lived with his parents. He had a filthy ass bedroom. Her dad, Jen's dad, Juan, bought that condo in 2011 and then eventually gave it to her. So at some point in 2018, it's Juan, Jen, Stephan, Maddie, and then a female roommate who worked at Disney.
These are the notes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. You show them that, though. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yep. I'll take you off. So these are the notes that she shared with me. And this is from a interview from a roommate this is a female roommate who lived with Jennifer Soto, who lived there at the start of Jennifer and Stephan Sterns' relationship over a 9-month period in that year as they kept breaking up. And there's a link to this YouTube channel. I'll link it in the description. Notes from interview on YouTube from roommate. Jen was on heavy medication all of the time and on disability. And again, this is coming from a roommate, so unverified 100%. But if she is giving this in an interview, you could bet your bottom dollar that police have interviewed her. They definitely have interviewed her and talked to her. She would only work a few hours per week when she felt like it. The roommate drove Jen to appointments / to the mental health facility an hour and a half away multiple times. Name is below. All right, she's back. I'll add her back. That was the quickest bathroom break I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'm so fast.
Wow, I could see that.
Yeah.
All right.
I just shoot it out. I'm good.
All right.
All right.
The
So
roommate,
where are we at?
the roommate didn't pick up on any sexual abuse, but she didn't like Stephan.
And you got to remember, this is the beginning of their relationship. So
Right.
they had been friends, she said. That's the idea she got from Jen. Jen had talked about how they were friends.
Right.
She kind of thought they were more like acquaintances.
So for another female to say he was really dirty, he lived with his parents and supposedly his room was filthy. When she's saying dirty, she's meaning he was just dirty, a dirty person.
Yes.
And his parents were in Northport, Florida, where the Laundries lived in that area, in that Northport area,
Boo.
which is the West Coast. And he drove across from the West Coast to the East Coast to up by Orlando, right?
Mm-hmm.
And came from his audio interview with the police. He came there just that day on Sunday for Madeline's birthday, but he was gone since December.
Yeah, and so his parents, by the way, he lived there the entire time he was living with Jen. And in that interview, the roommate says, she says,
so here, guilty of crime. That's
Yeah.
my channel. That's from my channel. We're going to link it in the description. Thank you for that. Guilty
is
of
that
crime.
Jai? Is that her
Yeah,
name?
I'm assuming. Yeah, Jai.
Is that you? I mentioned you earlier, I think. Yes.
She sent me an email, but I didn't see it until like a week and a half later. So I apologize for not getting back to you on the email. She was requesting some of the info from.
Can we put the link to her video in there? Because honestly, that interview she did, mwah.
This is it right here. So I'm going to link.
Yes, it's her. Jai, you rule.
I'll link it in the description.
Mm-hmm.
So I promise that I'll put that. Just got to give me about 10 minutes after we're done here, because we're going to get ready. We're already 21 minutes over what I wanted to do here tonight. I don't want to overload everybody, but again, those verified 12 accounts from Stephan Sterns, those were not, we didn't even go into what he did on those accounts, but there was some shady shit that he would do on those accounts. Like, again, posting parental advice. This is a pedophile posting parental advice to young teens. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can't overemphasize, when you have somebody that's online and has free access to just your kids, your children, unless you're supervising them, this is what's out there. You got evil people that are dangerous, that are trying to engage and interact with kids on a regular basis. There's no other reason to start trying to give parental advice than to try to groom or start a relationship with somebody online that would lead to a meetup.
I want to say, by the way,
am I off on that?
No, you're dead ass right. And I want to say also, by the way, sorry, it's Jay, not Jai. Right. Without Jay's interview, I couldn't have confirmed a lot of the stuff that I confirmed, because I had all his roommates from the past going back, the Georgia probation records. I think I sent you. I had stuff from when he was a juvenile, but some of the behavioral stuff that I would see in accounts, some things would make me go, I don't know. When Jay put up that interview, it confirmed, like in order, it confirmed literally everything that we were finding in the OSINT search history.
And look at just what I have highlighted here. This was stuff that we all speculated about, and according to her, they met at Disney. According to the roommate,
there was a woman on Facebook who she made a post saying, my aunt works with Jen's sister, and she said they slept in the same room, sometimes the same bed, they locked their door for hours, and that he was filthy. And I was always looking for some, because that's not the type of thing he would type, even in his even in his kind of blog. He had a lot of blogs, by the way, back in the day.
Okay.
It was an odd behavioral pattern.
And what kind of shit did he blog about, this guy?
Literally the nerdiest shit. Like, this guy was he kind of went through a communism phase where he was obsessed with like World War II, then he was obsessed with communism, and then he was obsessed with Red Dead Redemption out of nowhere. And so he would basically blog about history, and he would fight with people on Twitter over, that's not why this happened in this war. And it was a lot of like, I'm allowed to be mad and white. Like, that was a lot of his, like, it was all just basically.
So he evolved. Yeah. Pam Duvall wins the comment of the
Satan
stream.
Sterns.
Satan Sterns. I like that. But also Michelina says, let's not forget that Disney has over 80,000 employees in Florida alone. We can't make a blanket statement that everyone who works there is a child predator, obviously, but we do see quite a few times and quite a few instances. And if the percentage is even 5% of their employees, or even 1%.
Oh, 180 of their employees in 1 year alone. They had
Right.
6 operations.
Let me put this in perspective. I know all about, we all know
Mhm.
about these operations, and when we hear about these things and they're all coming up with Disney employees. If there's one minuscule of 0.5% of your employees are child pedophiles, you got a problem. And
Yep.
you need to tighten your shit up, because Disney is the most wealthy corporation, last time I checked, in the US of A. And if
Yep.
Disney can't do better, then shame on them. And we should all think about bringing our children to maybe some other place that might be a little bit safer.
Dollywood.
These people running around, and I don't give a shit about the being politically correct and all of that nonsense. When it comes to our children, you got to do better. And if you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, as Disney is, get your shit together and get rid of these fucking pedophiles.
12 cameras in the kids'
hire
bathrooms in 1 year is a problem.
Yeah, hire detectives and hire people who can snuff out and sniff out these idiots and get rid of them. Hire Oblivious Benson to do a search on each one of your employees, and you won't have pedophiles there. That's
Dude,
again.
I'll find their Zanga. I'm telling you though.
Let's go to the chat. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. A bunch of people in the chat. I love the live chatters. That's what this community is about. So I want to say thank you to everyone in the chat. If you're new and not subscribed, please consider subscribing here to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. Also consider subscribing to Oblivious Benson, Plunder, and all of the people. Jay, I'm going to link her channel in the description. Abso-freaking-lutely.
And without Jay and Plunder doing the work they're doing ethically, and I believe 100% Jay verified her source because it matched up exactly with the person who I had found as an old roommate. She never said their name, which I'm glad. Good, don't.
Yeah.
But everything lined up with it being this person down to a specific job. And for their safety, I'm not going to say what, but I'm telling you, this person is credible. Jay is credible. Without her and Plunder, I mean, so much wouldn't get preserved. And these are important things.
This is very good stuff. And there's just only a certain amount of time that we have to do this stuff. So I want to get to these starred messages and thank everybody for sending in super chats. Thank you, NG, for becoming a new member. Whiplash, new member. Kimberly, thank you for being a new member. Beth says, I would definitely pay her for a class on online protecting my kids. And you know what?
I'm going to put out a free video of that. Don't worry.
Yeah, this is, well, I mean, look, if you put a free video, if you put a video out, and forget about free, you put a video out, I will share that video. I would actually do the video with you if you wanted to do something like that.
And I get a lot of emails from parents who are like, my kid's youth pastor, can you look him up? Because I heard this rumor, and the amount of shocking stuff we have found that they had no clue. I mean, one person had to mourn a best friend because he didn't know. It's terrifying.
Horrifying. It's your worst nightmare, whether you're a parent or just a human being. You don't even have to be a parent. It's your worst nightmare. Let's get back on track here. So this is part of the notes, and we're almost at the end.
And that part is just Jai's video alone. That's everything that roommate said.
Right. Grandpa Juan said,
I'll vouch for it 100%.
Grandpa Juan loved Maddie. He stayed in his room too. Roommate is currently in counseling for guilt following this incident. And my heart goes out to the roommate. And you got to get around her to support her. And I'm sure Jay is supporting her.
And that 3 drawers thing, that's a very unique statement, right? One person, the same person who posted their friend worked with Maddie's aunt, also said 3 drawers. The second I heard that in her video, I was like, boom, done.
Right.
And that was months ago. So like comparing those things and going, cross-referencing.
Well, it puts it all right. It puts it right. Jen Soto, they talk about Park Place Behavioral Center, mental health facility Jen has been going to. Jen has a history of mental health
Poor
and
thing.
facility treatment. But again, mental
She's
health,
nuttier than a squirrel turd, y'all.
yeah, mental health treatment does not excuse you from making the right decisions as a parent. And if you are that mentally not well, then Madeline should have been in custody of somebody else. Like she talks about her mom, she talks about her sisters, the aunt, and so forth. There's options, and if you are feeling like you're not mentally well enough to take care of your children or to make good decisions for them, shame on you. Then it doesn't give you a pass. You don't get a pass because of this.
And
Because
also, Jen had accounts too. She had a FetLife. She had a swingers account, and she commented frequently on furry videos. Which, if you're into furries, I'm not saying that everyone who's into furries is a freak, but I mean,
what is a furry for the people who don't know?
a slutty high school mascot. I don't know. That's basic. People who dress up like a bunny and go fuck in the woods. That's literally it.
Wow.
Yeah, they're like, I'm a bunny now. Which, fair enough. Be a bunny. It doesn't hurt me, but just.
So can we highlight a little bit about let's talk, because it is in the title of this video. We talked about in the title, we talked about Stephan Sterns, but Jennifer Soto had some questionable online activity. Can you slowly describe a little bit of that to the audience?
Okay, so Jen's online history, it was a lot of shouting out mental health awareness while simultaneously venting. She did not seem to have any traces of straying away from Stephan, let's just say that, but she also was not overtly sexual. She did it, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. Stephan had 7-year FAP trophies on his Pornhub. Congratulations.
What's a FAP trophy? And what's a FAP trophy?
Fapping is literally this, pardon my hand, but it's literally jerking off. It's
okay.
Because the sound fap, I don't know. It's some childish shit. But he had trophies for being the guy who jerked off too much. Jen had posts about mental health awareness. He had up and down personality shifts according to his online behavioral personality. She was barely there, which leads me to think, especially because he had a massive gaming background, I think a bulk amount of the data that they pulled from that arrest warrant, I think, is going to end up just being preserved video games. I think everything they're going to get is going to be out of the Telegram logs from his phone, which are always preserved, and they're public. You literally don't need a warrant for them. Simultaneously, she did not have that. She had barely a footprint, and what she did have, it was comments on a couple of furry pages. I do wonder, did she even start those furry accounts, or did she start them and abandon them because they literally were in the false positives? They took forever to verify, and there was really no data there, which kind of tells me that maybe he had her set something up, and maybe okay, I'm just going to say what I think. The most common thing is a couple, the guy wants a three-way, the girl doesn't, or vice versa.
Right.
They set up an account, they have a post, and then they just take it down and don't use it anymore. It looks like that happened with them.
This is the kind of freaky shit she was into. And this comes,
I think she just slept all day and did what he said.
And here's the mind-blowing part about it. And we're being adults here, and we're talking about this, and I gave the disclaimer up front. If Jennifer Soto was into that kind of stuff, right? If she was into that stuff, which we see, right, that kinky shit, it makes sense that she's saying, I was telling him to take my daughter away, and not even thinking, not even caring about it.
Not even.
I told him to take my daughter and sleep in a room with her. And what person, what mom, what mother, what good mother says with a good conscience, hey, while I'm out at work for 7 hours or 8 hours, even though I work sporadically and work once in a blue, you can take my daughter and sleep in the same bed with her. I give you the blessing.
Yeah, it's so weird. And also it happened. I was always wondering, when did Juan move to Puerto Rico? Because I thought surely grandpa couldn't have been there when this was happening. There's no way. That's just too many people per square foot. I used to work in realty. I told you that, Ron. Like, you can see I'm not going to put it out there, but you could go see every apartment that is a 2-2 or a 1-1. You can see the floor plans, suss out which one is hers based on old Zillow data.
Right.
There's just no way. I mean, when Jay put that video up, confirmed everything. Like Juan did. He moved to Puerto Rico, and that's when it seems to have started, even according to the warrant.
I think what we have to do, because there's not enough time here, I think what we have to do is a series on this. And you might be getting lumped and roped into this with me, but I think I'm going to ask the audience right now. I'm going to pool the audience who would like to see an in-depth series where we do 2 or 1 hour videos and put them in a series where you could watch them. Boom, boom, boom. I think 1 hour is a perfect time. We could pre-record them, or we could do them live like this. Let me
7 hours right now.
We'll do. No, I can't do 7 hours. I got a full day.
Get Ed on.
I got to get on the road. I got to get on the road at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning and drive 100 miles on Memorial Day weekend to go see my stepmom who's suffering from Parkinson's. So I have to go over and spend the day with her, and my brother's going to meet me over there, and we're going to, we got a full day. But let's pull the chat. Let's pull the chat and see how many people would like to have a series with Oblivious Benson, myself, and maybe we'll invite Jay. And
Jay would like to come on. Let's build a rapport with her. She's badass.
And Rock Chalk, send me an email. I'd like to get Rock in here. I'd even like to bring in badass Melanie Little and get her in. She's a mother of 5, right? She's probably,
oh my God, we're like the Power Rangers.
Yeah, she's got a shit ton to say, and I'm comfortable around a room full of women, so I'm good. I can handle it. All right,
bring Ed in with his fancy curtains too. I want to see how many of the women in the chat are obsessed with his curtains.
Everybody's obsessed with Ed's curtains, but yes, I see an overwhelming amount of yes.
Jay, yes.
We're gonna get together. Let's do some thinking of the minds, and we'll put together structured 1 hour videos or more. We'll do them live, but we'll, just like what you put here in the notes, we'll get a full thing, and we'll go through Stephan Sterns online stuff.
There's so many, Ron. I went through 1,800 accounts. 1,800. I ended up with 190 since he was 15, 14. And of those 190, about 32 are currently active.
32.
And I'm going to be honest with you.
32 accounts.
I got really distracted watching wrestling, so I might have screwed up and added some in there that don't belong there. So I got to go back through again.
But that's still a lot. What if you, take out 10 out of that equation. So 22, 20
it's
accounts.
Even lot.
20 is a shit ton of accounts.
And a bulk amount of them, look at that picture. It's all the green. Those are all just, and you could throw on 2 or 3 more apps right there that he definitely had. One of them was the one that,
what goes on Kick? What's Kick?
Let me tell you something. I'm going to say this right now, and I'll take all the fault if anyone wants to sue me. If you have a husband, a boyfriend, or a child on Kick, your child has, like, in my opinion, a 1,000% chance of coming in contact with a groomer. That's how popular this is. If your husband or boyfriend has it, immediately dump them and never speak to them again. This is a predator-based app. It was at first marketed in other countries as a child dating app.
I never even heard of it.
It's literally for kids to talk to other kids, and they market it heavily kid-centric, and then they try to say that you're not allowed to be a kid and have it, but they do no verification.
Yeah.
It's mapped, unbelievable. It's like Telegram.
Yeah.
It is a free-for-all.
It's crazy.
If my boyfriend had that, I'd lock him out. I'd be like, you're out, you perv.
I see people saying that we forgot Plunder, and I will never forget Plunder, because I'm actually going to email her at the end of the show and ask her if she wants to be involved in this series. If your boyfriend or your significant other has Kick,
Yep. You know who had Kick? Keegan Kline, Stephan Sterns, all the classics, all the baddies. The person who kidnapped Ellie in Washington recently.
Yes.
That's how they meet. It's either Omegle Chat Roulette or Kick, and Omegle's gone, so now it's Kick. And before that, it was TikTok, which prior was Musically, which is how Delphi. That's how Liberty. It's how they found her. Like, it's literally, if your kid has a Kick, get rid of it. If your kid has a Snapchat, immediately disable the mapping, please. If your kid has a Discord or
Yeah.
any of these
And
video
I
apps,
mean, I have a Discord. I have a Discord group, and it's about true crime.
but if
could
your
you
kid
go
has
over-
a Discord, monitor who moderates.
Could you go over the worst ones? We know Kick is bad. How about Scout?
In my opinion, Scout's not heavy here. He also uses a lot of apps that are used to groom Filipinos and for Filipino dudes to talk to and Thai people to talk back and forth. Typically, that means someone's looking for a bride and they're willing to move, if you feel me. The guys who ran 4chan, the guys who ran Mega Upload, all these people who end up getting busted for this stuff, those are the apps they use.
Now let me ask you, he
honestly,
could have had a chatterbait under another email or under some spoof
I don't
email,
I don't think he did. I looked everywhere for that. He was so much more obvious, honestly. He used the basics. He used Pornhub
right?
because it was easy. And I think Chatterbait has ads for someone who apparently has such a hard time spladooging or whatever word you want to use. Seems to me like an ad would piss him off. He uses a lot of Roblox. That's dangerous as hell for grooming if you're not monitoring who they're watching.
Right.
Kick, Snapchat, I would say it kind of goes in order, to be honest.
I mean, I have Instagram. I use Discord. I have a TikTok. I don't know what this
But you're an adult.
is. I don't have a Yubu. Meet Me. I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Meet Me is huge. That's
Meet Me
a
is
Canadian client had one of those.
All right. What's this calculator? I think about using my calculator on my phone.
Oh, this is a big one. And I talk about this in my video. Remember Chris Watts?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He had a calculator app, but when you click on it, the calculator doesn't pop up. Instead, what pops up is pictures of his mistress, all the nudes she was sending him. So it's a common practice. A lot of people don't know this, but on your phone, you can pick out pretty much any what's it called? Icon? I don't even know. I don't even remember what they're called, but you can pick out any avatar or whatever.
Yeah, you could use any icon for your thing. Yeah.
So if you have a secret Grindr account or a Tinder account and you're a cheating piece of shit, you might want to switch out the logo or the icon with a calculator, because when has anyone ever been like, give me your phone, let me use your calculator? Like, that's not something people look for. So, I mean, ever since, this has been like 10 plus years.
Did you ever do a deep dive into Chris Watts to see what he did online, or just?
I have controversial opinions about that, but I wouldn't say controversial. There's things that I've mentioned that people are like, whoa. But I'll just tell you this. A lot of killers who kill their families recently have worn a specific patch on their arm that is sold as an MLM. And it's one of those that jacks you up, kind of like Addies, like Adderall, or like
level marketing.
Yep. And Chris Watts and his lady were into those.
Yes.
And so I believe was Corey Richards at one point, I want to say.
Yeah.
The chick with the bands in New York killed her whole family, sent the husband out to pick up to go. Leticia Stout at one point. I mean, the list goes on. And when I see an MLM and a lot of family killing,
I was a Herbalife representative, so
Herbalife is actually natural, and it's
a long time ago. Yeah,
I don't think it can be an MLM because people don't really get super successful in it. And the ones who do stick around forever, it's just kind of almost like Ubering in a way for health nuts.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap this up for tonight because we're an hour and 43.
Can I end on good news that's going to fascinate the hell out of you? This is my surprise.
Okay.
I went on an OSINT deep dive yesterday just for you, Ron, on the judge in Stephan's case. Because everybody's talking about what's going to happen. Is he going to get capital murder? What are they going to do? So I said, hey, who gets to pick his fate? A jury guided by a judge, or maybe just a judge? We don't know yet, right? We don't know how he's doing it. So I started looking into this judge, and let me tell you, he is a definition of a bad ace, if I must say so myself. So the judge in this case, let me pull up you're going to love this, by the way.
He's Karsten?
Yes, Karsten. So he is infamous for a viral video that came out, and I linked it on Facebook. I don't know if you see it there.
I do.
So it's pretty long, but do you remember Anthony Tote in Florida?
I do.
He blew away his whole family. This is the judge that sentenced him to multiple life in prisons and then sentenced him to the maximum of an extra year in county for the dog.
This guy?
Yeah, that's the judge. And look at his cute bow tie. Oh, love him.
Thank you, Judge.
He loves kids. He hates bad guys.
Musical. If her
All right, I'm going to link
neighbors were
this.
sick, she would.
It's 18 minutes. I thought it was.
Oh
8.
yeah, no. That's at the end is when he sentences him, but he basically gives him this incredible speech. Yeah.
Let's get this. Hold on, let's listen.
This is Stephan's judge.
Has been present during the presentation of evidence.
So this is the judge who's going to be seeing Stephan Sterns and presiding over his case. So
Yes, and before you start it, let me tell you something about him real quick. A professional skydiver most of his life.
Really?
Was in the skydiving club in Florida, at Florida State. He grew up, lived his whole life in Florida within 20 minutes of kissing me. He did his first skydive in like 10 or 15 years the other day. Loved it. Had a great time, he says. Simultaneously, he is a pilot. Always wanted to be a pilot. Tried to join the Air Force. His sight was bad. He still learned how to fly a plane, certified himself. Absolutely loves his family, loves his wife and kids. Hates pedophiles. Hates them. And he's a felony judge. And he likes to give people the max in prison instead of capital punishment because he wants them to suffer.
John Tote already destroyed.
What case is this that he's
Anthony Tote, who killed his whole family and then strangled the family dog.
Right. This is Anthony Tote. Not only killed his whole family, but went and killed the family dog. Did you get that bug? Whatever that was?
Yeah, it's a freaking gnat.
That you destroyed the world of your 4-year-old daughter, Zoe Elizabeth Tote. That you destroyed the world of your 10-year-old son, Tyler John Tote. That you destroyed the world of your 13-year-old son, Alexander John Tote. You destroyed the world of your wife, Megan Denise Tote. The jury has unanimously determined that you murdered each of them with premeditation based on the evidence presented in this room. As to count 1, first-degree murder of Zoe Elizabeth Tote, you were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As to count 2, for the premeditated murder of your son, Alexander John Tote, you are sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
This is him.
As to count 3, for the premeditated murder of your son, Tyler John Tote, you are sentenced to life in prison. As to count 4, for the premeditated murder of your wife, Megan Denise Tote, you are sentenced to life in prison. One of those lives was less valuable than the others. Those sentences will be imposed consecutively. You will be adjudicated guilty as to each count. The murder of the family dog, you are adjudicated guilty and sentenced to the maximum sentence consecutive, which is 1 year in the county jail. You will get credit for any time that you have already served.
Should have got fucking life for killing that dog too, you scumbag.
Madam Clerk.
319 days.
Any costs?
All right, so people might be asking, why are we showing this? This is the judge who's presiding over Stephan Sterns' impending trial. The trial, he's going to be the judge in the courtroom.
He's also a professional motocross racer.
I fucking love the guy.
He rules,
Anyways,
dude.
all right, here we are, folks. Oblivious Benson, I want to just say thank you.
You're welcome.
Much for taking out. It took us so long, but I'm so happy we got to do it. You know, there's still, at the end of this hour and 48 minutes, there's almost 4,000 people still watching us here. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who are here in the chat first time, please consider subscribing to Oblivious Benson. Subscribe here to Crime Time with DutyRon. Plunder, Jay's channel. I'm going to link it. Give me 10, 15 minutes because me and Oblivious have to debrief each other at the end of this. Rock Chalk, go and subscribe to her. We got so much true crime to cover.
And get this book. If you want to do what I do, get this book.
Okay, let's put you full screen.
Can I get it right there? This is a book by a guy in the FBI. Just look up Michael Basil.
I love the knife at the bottom.
Yeah, that's just some paper that got ripped on
Looked
it.
like a knife. It looked like a knife
Oh,
going
no.
through
You
there.
want to see my knife?
Oh no. This is how we really get demonetized right there. All right, I'm going back full.
This is my weenie whacker set.
Weenie Whacker set.
They sold this during the Lorena Bobbitt trial.
Oh my God. Look at that, ladies. Lorena
Love,
Bobbitt.
honor, and cherish, or else, boys.
Wow. And that is a replica of the knife used to cut the wiener off of Mr. Bobbitt. Thank
Merry
you for
Christmas
sharing.
to me
Thank
from
you
my
for sharing.
boyfriend.
Sharing is caring. All right, listen. Again, like I said, it's Memorial Day weekend tomorrow. Monday, we want to at 3:00 Eastern or 3:00 your time. We want to take a moment to give a moment of silence on Monday for all who have given their lives protecting our freedoms and protecting this great land, United States of America. That's what Memorial Day weekend's about. It's not about the barbecues and the hangouts and the air shows and so forth. It's about remembering those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, defending us, our country, and defending our freedoms. So again, thank you to everyone who has served and continues to serve. There's Veterans Day in November where we honor our veterans. Monday is about honoring those who paid the ultimate sacrifice defending us. So I thank you all for being here. I thank my esteemed guest, Oblivious Benson.
Hey, thank you, DutyRon, and I salute you. Thank you you were there at 9/11, dude, right?
I did respond to 9/11 with
Thank
Ed
you for your
Wallace.
service,
and-
man.
Yep, thank you.
Happy birthday to my dad, by the way.
Oh, happy
He
birthday.
loves you, Ron.
Happy birthday, Pops. And for those of you who have given super chat or become members, thank you so much for that. To the moderators and the replay viewers, we love you and we thank you. And again, we're going to start a series on this. It's going to probably be a 5 or 6 parter. It's got to be at least 6 hours. We need at least another additional 6 hours.
And that Judge Does podcast, maybe we can get him on.
Well, I don't know. That would be tough. That would be tough to get.
Well,
him.
after.
We'll ask him after the trial. So thank you all. And those of you who enjoyed this program and this live stream, let us know in the comment section what you think about this live stream and the information that was doled out. It was just a slither it's a small slice of the pie of the information that Oblivious Benson has. And we could do so much with this. We could do so much good. We can even do a series on keeping your kids safe while online. I think that would be a very, very popular series to put together and something that we'll collaborate and do in the future.
We got to microchip our kids, people. We do it to dogs. Do it to your kids. What are we doing?
Yeah. That's for a whole nother conversation, but I thank you guys all. Will you hang out just for a minute after I'm done with this? Because I want to talk to you just for a minute. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to thank you all for being here. I'm going to go full screen with me for a second. Oblivious, thank you for being here. Again, if you're not yet subscribed. We will see you on the next one. Stand by for a message from our cop team. That's Kara, Oscar, and Popeye. That's my dog, Ed's dog, and this parrot that's in my studio that's 37 years old. And he was letting a couple of F-bombs out before. Thank God I have a mic that cuts out. It's a limiter. It takes out the background noise. But Popeye was dropping F-bombs like crazy. I'll see you guys all soon. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed.